Well, what the flaming was that? Seriously, boys. I know that Bayern Munich are good, but we can't afford to give them 2 goals inside the first 10 minutes. Come on, that was pathetic. At least we got one back, but we need an absolute miracle coming up in the second leg, okay? I'm going to put you boys through the ringer for this next month. I want to see a way better performance in Germany. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 104 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and in today's episode we try and fix the mess that we got ourselves into yesterday as we play the second leg of the first knockout round in the Champions League against Bayern Munich. Off the back of that, we'll also have a little bit of a look at some of the transfer business that we might do in this window that we are currently in here in Iceland. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. A big thank you to all those new subscribers who have got us over the 200 mark over the Easter period. Very, very much appreciated. But today we pick up where we left off at the end of yesterday's episode. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Bayern Munich absolutely thumping us in the first leg at home 4-1. We need an absolute miracle here in Munich, but truth be told, we probably don't have a snowball's chance in hell, but we'll see what happens here off the back of a month in between these two legs. We have played 2 competitive fixtures since that 4-1 loss to Bayern Munich, both in the Íþróttafélagið. First off, a very important game, top of the table clash there against Breidablik. We did pick up a 3-0 win away from home there thanks to second half goals, a double to Mariano and a penalty to Chaka Traore. That puts us in a great spot to be qualifying out of that group, and we made sure of it by backing it up with a 4-0 win at home there against Shaun, with this time a double to Traore alongside goals in the second half to Nygaard and Mariano. Just one more game left in the group stage of the Íþróttafélagið coming up against from Reykjavik. As long as we do get a draw out of that game, we will be making our way through to the semi-finals and finals of that competition, trying to win that for back-to-back years after we did lose it a few seasons ago. And if we do make it to the semi-finals and we don't win today, that might be what's coming up in tomorrow's episode. But before that, we do have to get through this second leg against Bayern Munich. As I said, we need a massive win here if we are to turn things around off the back of that 4-1 defeat in yesterday's episode. We need goals today, so we are going back to our usual 4-3-3 vertical tiki-taka tactic, just not changing anything like we did in yesterday's episode. We've gone back to the usual, being more expressive and counter-pressing, because as I said, we're going to need goals if we have any chance of getting out of this tie. The other change that we have made, Thiago Polo comes back in for Ali Ramadan. He drops down to the bench after he had a little bit of a shocker yesterday. Probably not my greatest moment there, Thiago Polo, in great form in between now and that game as well. He's such a good aerial threat, even though he shouldn't be as good as Ramadan at the moment. He does look better, so he's going to have that starting spot for the second leg against Bayern Munich, trying to fix things up for us off the back of yesterday. But that is the lone change in our starting 11 for this one. Hopefully a better performance. Hopefully we can get at least a draw out of this game or something, just to bump up that coefficient, because at the moment we are on for a slight decrease back down a spot on the coefficient table at the end of this upcoming season. But another tough ask for us here. Not much chance of getting into the second knockout round, but if we can pick up a decent result here, that would be quite useful for the coefficient. And we'll come back shortly and see what happens in the second leg. 4-1 down here as we travel to Munich to take on Bayern. And here is the team sheet for Bayern Munich. With you guys just having a look at ours, it looks very, very similar to the team that did play us in the first leg in yesterday's episode. They were very good in that one, albeit, as I said earlier, we did give them a few goals. Hopefully that slight little change at the back with Thiago Polo coming back in for Ali Ramadan might help us out defensively. Ali Ramadan at fault for a few things yesterday, including an early penalty. Hopefully that is not the case today, but we've got to highlight immediately from the kickoff the exact same uniforms as in the first league. We need to get on top of these guys nice and early if we are to have any chance of getting through to the second knockout round. But as I said earlier, I would just take a decent result here to help us out coefficient-wise. Otherwise, we are looking at a decline for the first time in this save, certainly since we've been involved in European football for Iceland, but Bayern Munich holding the ball quite nicely here. Nice and early. Luka gets the ball down the left-hand side, plays that back for Alphonso Davies, tries to put that top right corner just over the bar, and we are still 4-1 down, nice and early in the second leg. And up to the 17-minute mark, it is a free kick here for Bayern Munich. Shaun gets his head on the end of that, just puts it wide. Both Matthews and Galtason picking up early yellow cards, so that is not ideal. But after 20 minutes, we're still locked up here in the second leg, but 4-1 down on aggregate. And now up to the 26-minute mark, we do have a goal kick here, which we do take short. Yet another yellow card for us, Nicolosi Caviglia. This time we'll get to our transfer business later. We have already done one transfer, which in particular will impact Nicolosi Caviglia, which is interesting. He's our longest standing member at the club these days, has had that starting box-to-box midfield role for some time, but we did have the transfer budget to really try and improve our squad in this current window. But at the moment, Bayern Munich well and truly on top of us. Good foot in there by Matthews on a yellow card, but unfortunately, the ball does fall back there to Bayern Munich and Luka down the left-hand side yet again. Shaun puts one far post there and Brune gets a goal, and Bayern Munich go 1-0 up before the half-hour mark, and we are certainly not going to be making our way through to the second knockout round now. I think it is fair to say we need 4 goals just to take this one to extra time, and we've had no highlights in our favour inside the first half hour. Luka's looked dangerous down that left-hand side, plays that inside the box for Shaun. Brune at the far post, good header by him, and we're 1-0 down, just shy of the half-hour mark, and 5-1 down on aggregate. And it is half-time in this second leg, and yet again we are being absolutely dominated. Just the one shot from us, at least it was on target, but Bayern Munich well and truly outplaying us. You can see the ratings there in the bottom. Most of our players not playing well. I don't think we're going to get much out of making any substitutions here at half-time, because most of the squad are really struggling, even though quite a few of them are on yellow cards as well. I think we'll just leave things as they are for the second half and hopefully grab an equaliser on the day, but we're certainly not going to be progressing any further in the Champions League. 5-1 down at half-time in the second leg. And first minute of the second half, we were briefly on the attack. There are a few players on yellow cards linking up, but we can't find Benjamin Rubio up top, and now Bayern Munich do look to play out from the back. As I said, if we could get a draw out of this game, that would actually be quite nice. Might just give us a little bit of a boost in the coefficient, which might just give us enough of a cushion to potentially hold on over someone like Denmark to make sure that we do hold on to 14th place at the end of the season. And that is the last thing we need early on here in the second half. Nicolosi Caviglia with a foot in from behind. He picks up his second yellow card. We had a lot of players on yellow cards, so I didn't think there would be much benefit there from taking anyone off. Maybe I should have taken off Caviglia because he has got a red card early here in the second half. Goffey will come on for Galtason, and we will play without a halfback here for the second half. But we are now down to 10 men, 4 goals behind. This is turning into a disaster here against Bayern Munich. And right about on the hour mark, we are going to make our last few substitutions here. A few players out there really struggling. Benjamin Rubio on a 6.2. Fabio Mariano to come on for him, and Chatzaki can come on for Meza on a 6.3. That's all of our subs used. Let's see if we can get an equaliser here with 10 men, because we're still only trailing by 1-0, but still 4 goals behind in the tie on aggregate. And inside the last few minutes of this one, absolutely no highlights in the second half, which isn't too bad considering that we have been down to 10 men for most of it. But in the end, we created very little in that game. Bayern Munich did enough in the first half to get a goal, and we do lose 1-0. A lot better performance than we did put out in yesterday's episode. Despite us not scoring, we did only concede the 1 goal, and with 10 men for the second half, that's not too bad. But in the end, we got well and truly outplayed over both legs of that one, and we are getting knocked out in the first knockout round of the Champions League, in our first time in the Champions League knockouts, very comprehensively, falling to defeat here against Bayern Munich by 5-1 over both legs. And there is the confirmation. We are out of the Champions League in the knockouts in the first knockout round in our first season in the postseason of this competition. Bayern Munich way too good for us, as I said, over both legs. The one benefit that we do get from making the knockouts of the Champions League, though, is we do get a nice little payday there of £8.2 million for making the knockouts of the Champions League. I think that's more than what we got last season for our entire run in the knockout stages of the Europa League up until the final. So that's actually quite a good season financially for the club in Europe, even if it's not the greatest one in terms of the coefficient, because if we go and have a look at that with teams from Denmark and Turkey, both in the latter stages of the Europa League, and of course the Conference League. That does mean if we just make our way down a little bit, so my head's not blocking too much information here, we are on for a drop, albeit only of one place on the coefficient table. At the end of this season, we get a 5.7, so we are going to be decreasing our points for the first time in this save, but we're still not that far behind the likes of Turkey, but Denmark are going to overtake us, getting rid of a 2.625, currently on a 7. They're a nation who could be on for a few good seasons on this coefficient table, because next season as well, they get rid of a 3.7, but unfortunately, at the end of our European campaign this season, we dropped down from 14th to 15th at the moment. Hopefully, that's as far as we do drop. It should be as far as we do drop, because no other nations look like they're close enough to overtake us at this point. What that will mean in a few seasons' time is, instead of entering the third qualifying round of the Champions League like we are going to do in the next season, we will be going back down to the second qualifying round like we were in this current season that we have just completed. It's not too much of a change there. We get an extra chance to pick up some points in the qualifying round, which is actually quite useful. That is what I think has cost us a little bit of coefficient point in this current season, but just a slight change on where we do enter the qualifying stage of the Champions League for a few seasons' time, provided this is how things do stay with where we are here at the end of our European season. But seeing as that game didn't take too long, we do have quite a bit of time to fill in between where we are now and where we do enter that third qualifying round of the Champions League for next season. We're probably going to have to do a few domestic episodes in between now and then, but while we do have the time, we will take the chance to run you guys through the transfer business that we have done so far in this current window, and also some targets we are hopefully going to get across the line over the next few episodes, potentially, while we do win the deal to Bakar, hopefully, and start off the league season. So if we make our way over to the transfer centre, you'll be able to see that we have actually already made one transfer. And here you can see our big money signing to start off this window, paying £4.8 million for Karel Giroux. He is a Czech midfielder who we have really signed to be our new box-to-box midfielder. It did look like that was an area in the squad that we could certainly improve on things. We'll get to that shortly when we can update the squad now that we have actually been knocked out of European football, and just give a little look at how we are looking to improve things before the rest of this transfer window. But we spent £4.8 million on this Czech midfielder, 21 years old, has fairly good potential, could get up to 5-star, even if that last star is white. You can see his value is already higher than what we did buy him for, paying him quite a big wage there, £20,000 a week, but an important player. He is going to be our starting box-to-box midfielder here going forward, replacing the man who did just get sent off there in that second leg against Bayern Munich, in Nicolucci Caviglia, who has been a really good servant here at the club, but it did feel like it was an area of the squad that we could improve on quality-wise. He's been a good player, but does lack some of the attributes that you would expect for a player in the Champions League. I think Karel Giroux is a good upgrade on Nicolucci Caviglia. If we go down, have a look at his attributes for the box-to-box midfield role, you can see he's very well-rounded, quite a bit better than what Nicolucci Caviglia was in that role. He comes here having spent recent time at Banikoškava in his home nation. Good ratings for that team when he has made appearances, especially over the last few seasons. And hopefully he will be a player who can help us consistently make the knockouts of the Champions League in this save. So that's our one new signing so far. We did also sign a young Brazilian midfielder who is also part Portuguese. So that's why we signed him, 18 years old, Banjo, on a free transfer. He looks fairly promising as well. 3.5-star gold potential, 4.5-star white potential, but we have already loaned him out to Nantes, so he's going to get some good first-team football in the top division here this season. And while we are talking about outs, we have actually got rid of quite a few more players since the start of yesterday's episode when we updated you guys on the sale of Gabriel Corbo. And you can see there a lot of the players that we have got rid of have gone to fellow Icelandic teams. Just the one player who has not, that is Jusandro, who was a left back who we didn't give much time to here at Volsungur. Loaned him out a few times. It wasn't really developing as much as we would like. He was bought here for a very small fee a few seasons ago, and we have sold him back to Brazil for £37,000. That's the other sale that we have made outside of the nation. But a few youngsters have gone to fellow Icelandic clubs. Olafsson goes to Fylkir, young 17-year-old winger who goes there for a price of £8,000. Young player who didn't really have the potential to be anything here at Volsungur, and the same case does apply for any Atlas on. He's a player who got a little bit of first-team football late in the league in the past few seasons when the title was already wrapped up and we did need to rest players leading into European games. He's gone to HK for £12,000. He was a player who came through our youth intake as well, so making a little bit of profit there on some young players who wouldn't really cut the standard here at Volsungur. But then we have also loaned out quite a few players, and most of those players have gone to HK as well. So HK hopefully will be a lot stronger than they have been over the past few seasons, especially when they do enter Champions League qualifying in the second round of the league path in this upcoming season. Vlade Saric joins them on loan, 2-star current ability, midfielder, 4-star potential. Hopefully he's going to have a good little bit of improvement there at HK after he spent a little bit of time last season at Nantes. Gabriel Zapata is a very promising young central defender who we have also sent on loan to HK, 2-star current ability, 4-star potential as well. Hopefully he will develop nicely there and might prove useful to us in the coming years, or he can join HK permanently in a few years' time and really help those guys out, hopefully, to start making European football a bit more consistently. And probably the biggest loan that we've done so far in this window is the one of Werner Bayer. A few seasons ago, he was the backup box-to-box midfielder to Nicolucci Caviglia, but with that addition of Giroud, we don't really need him around anymore. We did loan him back out to Rapid VN for the latter half of the last European season. He now goes to HK for this upcoming one domestically, 2.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential. He should prove a very, very good player against most teams here in the Islands deal, and hopefully do a decent job for HK in European qualifying as well. So HK are getting a lot of help from us here in terms of signings and loans, but hopefully that does help them out and make sure that they do make the group stages of a European competition. I think it's fair to say HK over the past few seasons have certainly been the second best team in Iceland behind us based on where they have been finishing in the league for most of those seasons last season. Unfortunately, they got knocked out of Europa League qualifying by Phil Kehrer. I would have preferred HK in there. I do think they have a stronger team, and hopefully with those guys getting a few players off us on loan, they can this time make the group stages of a European competition and might be able to help us out just a little bit more than Phil Kehrer did in this past season. So that pretty much wraps up our transfer business for now. But if we go back over to our tactic, I can kind of show you guys where else we are looking at improving before revealing the other targets that we do have in this upcoming window. And here is the team that we did just put out for that second leg against Bayern Munich. So the immediate change that we are going to make, Nicolucci Caviglia will go out of that team now. He'll probably find his way onto the bench. He is only 1 year away from becoming Icelandic, as is the case with Ian Carlo. So it's definitely worth keeping those guys around. So hopefully in the case of Ian Carlo in particular, they get rid of foreign status, but Nicolucci Caviglia could in the end become eligible for the national team, but he will probably find his way onto the bench in place of someone like Maurizio Goffi. But Karel Giroud is our new box-to-box midfielder. Something else I am looking at doing for this upcoming season is that Brynjar Galtason will probably drop down to the second 11 as well, and replacing him will be the young Senegalese defensive midfielder that we did sign for a bargain price last season, and that is Bassero Gay. He does have a lot of potential. I would like to give him a lot of football in that DM role. He is a big, tall lad, can pretty much play as a centre-back anyway, so having him in the half-back means that we're kind of playing with three centre-backs, but he also has a very, very good passing game, so he should be quite useful for us in that half-back role. So those are two changes that we can already make to this first 11. So that's what it does look like at the moment. Unfortunately, domestically, with this lineup that we do currently have, especially if we do get someone like Ramadan in over Paulo, or maybe at the moment to Prisco, because Thiago Paulo on a 4.5-star ability rating, which is some effort. He is in a rich vein of form. Not too sure why I dropped him yesterday, although it'd be fair, Ali Ramadan should be better than him, but in game that is not the case. But if we do bring Ramadan into the starting lineup, it does mean that we are over the foreign player limit for the domestic league. So something that I am looking at doing potentially for this upcoming season is upgrading the Mazzala. Nathaniel Satole might be a player who we do look to loan out this season. We've got a good backup there in Porstein Arnason, who can play in the backup team. And then if we do get someone who is EU in that role, we can keep the likes of Alejandro Meza, Ali Ramadan, and of course Bassero Gay, who would be the three players who are foreign for the domestic league. And of course, the other area that we were looking at upgrading off the back of selling Gabriel Corbo was getting a good fourth choice centre-back as well. So the two areas that we are still looking to improve in this current transfer window are new Mazzala, who is EU, and also another centre-back option ideally as well. He would be EU. Maybe we could upgrade our left-back, but truth be told, I've been finding it really hard to find anyone who's an upgrade on Alejandro Meza. We would have to spend well over 10 million to get someone with better attributes than Alejandro Meza, despite the fact his form since joining the club has been pretty patchy, to be fair, but he is a player who does fluctuate in between that 3-star to 4-star current ability level, so I do think he is one that might be worth persevering with for one more season at least. But now we can go over and have a look at the players who I am lining up to come and join us in those slots for the Mazzala and the centre-back. If we do go over to the shortlist and have a look who we do have on our list at the moment, there's 4 options there, but there's 2 in particular I am really looking at. First is the replacement for Gabriel Corbo. Ideally, we would go after someone like Elias Anderson. He is a Danish centre-back currently at Copenhagen. Unfortunately, haven't been able to find his cheaper alternative younger brother in Ezekiel just yet. Not too sure if he's appearing quite yet for Copenhagen, but he is a very, very good ball-playing defender. I think he would be an ideal replacement for Gabriel Corbo. We do still have enough money to bring in a few more big money signings, with Karel Giroud only costing us around the 5 million mark. That does still mean we have about 17, 18 million pounds left transfer budget, and still quite a lot of wage budget as well. But 7.6 million pounds is this guy's release clause. He is a very good aerial threat, very good on both feet, 4-star current ability and 5-star potential. He might be a player who works his way into that first 11 if we did sign him. Otherwise, he can go into that back up 11. Hopefully, he'll accept the contract where that would be the case once we do talk him around. He's still not that interested in joining us, but he is a player who we are scouting. I'm attending matches to try and get this guy interested in us. He looks like a very, very good centre-back to replace Gabriel Corbo, and it does create a nice little Danish click here at the club with the likes of Frederick Larsen already at the club. So that would be our ideal replacement for Gabriel Corbo. Just add some real depth for us there in the centre-back position. And then we do have a very, very good option, hopefully, who we can get to join the club after he does recover from his injury for the Mazzala role, and that is Kalan Rakasan. He is a Romanian midfielder currently at Cluj. Actually plays as a striker for them, but you see his passing, his technique, his vision. I think he's better off as a midfielder, especially with his finishing. We do have a better option there in Benjamin Rubio. So I think if we got this guy in as a Mazzala, he would be a very, very good upgrade on someone like Nathaniel Satole. In fact, I've compared their attributes. He is definitely an upgrade on Nathaniel Satole. He is a little bit injury prone, which is obviously why he is currently out, but he does look like a very good player, 4-star current ability, 4.5-star potential. Another player with a release clause of 3.9 million pounds. He looks like a player who could be worth a lot more than 3.9 million pounds. Hopefully, we can get him over the line, and he can also join us, the Romanian international, to really add some quality to that midfield that we currently do have here at the club. So those are the 2 players I'm definitely keen on signing. We do have a few other players there who we could sign just in case Kalan Rakasan doesn't want to join us. One of those is Tommaso Milanesi. He is asking to leave Napoli for 5 million pounds, so he's a little bit more expensive, not quite as good as Rakasan, but he is the most interested of all those players on that next window target shortlist, 4-star current ability and potential. So it doesn't quite have the same potential as Rakasan does, but if we can't get Rakasan over the line, this is a player who we could go for, and the same is the case for Bozidar Mihaljevic. He is currently at Chelsea, is the Serbian 24-year-old. Again, not quite as good as Rakasan for that Mazzala role that we are looking at upgrading, but 4-star current ability, 4-star potential, a little bit younger than that guy that we did just look at from Napoli. He's probably the second choice and behind Rakasan, but currently he is also not too interested in joining us, and it'll be interesting to see if we could get him to a wage where he would actually be able to join the club, because coming from Chelsea, his wage demands might be a little bit too expensive for us, albeit he might be willing to drop those, because since joining Chelsea from Partizan, he has not been getting much game time there at all. But those are the players who we are looking at getting here in this upcoming transfer window to go alongside Karel Giroud. Elias Anderson is an upgrade to the centre-back position to replace Gabriel Corbo, and Kalan Rakasan to fill that Mazzala role and really strengthen up that midfield, because that is the area in terms of star rating and attributes that did look like it was the area that we could upgrade the most in this transfer window. If we were able to get both those across the line, that would cost us around about the £11.5 million mark. And you can see there, we still have £18 million of transfer budget and £151,000 of wage budget as well. So we could still even get in one more signing, as I said, if we can find a left back potentially a little bit better than Alejandro Meza. Maybe that's the deal that we could go for, but otherwise we might just leave it late and maybe try and add some good young players to the squad who can become homegrown in nation off the back of that. But that is what we are looking at doing over the next little while in terms of this current transfer window. But that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, missing out in the first knockout round of the Champions League to Bayern Munich, but off the back of that, revealing what we could potentially be doing in this current transfer window, as well as that first signing of Karel Giroux. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. In terms of tomorrow's episode, I think the most sensible thing that we can do, probably the games coming up that are going to be the most important, is going to be in the deal to a card, provided that we do get a draw out of our upcoming game, the last one in the group stage against From Reykjavik. We should qualify top from that group, and we can do another episode on that like we did a few seasons ago when we weren't quite as good as we have been the last few seasons in Europe. We can do an episode with hopefully a semi-final as well as a final coming up tomorrow, and win the deal to a card for the second straight season, and what I believe would be the 8th time, albeit we did win it quite a few times before we did lose it a few seasons ago. So we'd need to check exactly how many times we have won this competition. But hopefully we'll come back tomorrow and pick up the League Cup to start off this domestic season. Off the back of that, hopefully I can get up to around the end of May, and we can do our end of European season roundup at the end of this week and get back into European football fairly early on at the start of next week, albeit, as I said earlier, we are actually going to be entering qualifying a little bit later than we did this season, next season in the third qualifying round, so we might have to do yet another domestic episode before we do get back into European football. But thanks to that loss there in the first knockout round of the Champions League, probably means we've got a few episodes of domestic football to get through first, and of course some transfers as well. Hopefully we can get those deals that we just went through before over the line and really improve this squad here at Volsungur, so we can start making Champions League knockouts a bit more consistently. But coming up tomorrow, we will have the deal to Bakar. Hopefully we can pick that trophy up yet again. Until then though, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.